Welcome to another episode of BT Sport Open Mat. I'm Adam Catterall. With me as ever, Nick Peet, and the man whose name is on the tin, Dan Hardy. Now, we're just picking up from UFC 249, where you saw the Bantamweight champion, Henry Cejudo, retire in the octagon after a fantastic display against Dominic Cruz. Dan, you don't believe him, do you, mate? You think it's a play. You think he's after a bit of cheddar ching.
I do, absolutely. I think he's testing his popularity. That's what I think he's doing. We'll soon know, because if the UFC put on a title fight with that belt, then we'll know whether he's serious or not. I think the longer that belt sits around, the longer we've got for him to come back and fight. There are too many challenges in this division, really. He's 33, and he said it in the octagon when he was fake retiring. He said it like in the octagon, like he's old. Like, I'm 33 now. Like, dude, you've got plenty of time. Like, you've got at least another 5 years of like top flight competition if you want. Like, you could clear out this division, go back down, and then go all the way up to featherweight and do that as well. You've got time. Yep. Like, I mean, whether he wants to or not, I don't know, but he was talking about it like you know, he's coming to the end of his career, and he's absolutely not. I just don't see it. I think that he's going to, even if he takes 12 months out, 18 months out, he's going to get itchy feet. He's going to see the division develop without him. That, you know, that little bit of wanting to be in the spotlight will come back. That little bit of wanting to prove himself and show everybody he's still the best will come out, and he'll jump back in there. He's too young, and he's too close to his athletic prime. And I mean, I think he looks down this division, and I think he sees a lot of people that would be good matchups for him. Good like comfortable wins for him, and big names as well. Tough challenges for a lot of other fighters, but for him, with the skill set that he's got, especially the way he dispatched of Cruz, I know a lot of people were of the opinion that he just threw the knee and Cruz level changed onto it, but there was a lot more to that, which we can get into. He'll be back soon.
We're going to get stuck into this division because, as Dan says there are some sensational challenges, some big names in this bantamweight division. But from a business point of view, Nick, makes actually a little bit of sense for Henry Cejudo just to step aside, maybe for 12 to 18 months, as Dan's just said there. Let this division, let them all fight each other, let them all beat each other up. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and then you can stick an extra zero on that paycheck when Dana needs him to come back. Absolutely.
You know, he's far from finished the cringe. You know, he's got plenty of more cringy moments to put us through, but in all seriousness, the guy's been he is a superstar. You know, he completely obviously won Olympic gold medal, then came into the UFC, won the flyweight title, second time of asking, moved up to bantamweight, has looked sensational, defended both belts now critically, which I think only Daniel Cormier's managed to do so far, is actually defend belts in two weight divisions as well. So he's absolutely flying. And I think he realises now that he is a big star, that people are talking about him. His social media is hot. And whether people are supporting you, whether they're cheering or they're jeering, it doesn't really matter, does it? They're buying pay-per-views. They are, not in this world, but soon they will be again, putting bums on seats in terms of you being a draw, which is something the flyweight division has definitely not had before. And, you know, bantamweight's always struggled to pull in big numbers, but I think he realises what he brings to the UFC as an asset. You know, he's starting to look around, and Conor's obviously the benchmark for a lot of the champions. You know, a lot of the champions do it. As soon as they, you know, become champion, the gold goes around the waist. They start about moving up and mixing up the weight divisions now. They start talking about a lot more about money, a lot more about what is coming their way, because Conor's very much pushed the envelope in that, you know, and he's pushed it to a whole new level. So we've seen John Jones play ball this way as well. George St. Pierre's an old master at it, retiring and then coming back when the division settles down because the champion at the time wants to prove himself against the former champion, all that kind of stuff. You know, I think Cejudo probably is a little bit tired. I think he has been competing since the age of 8, as he says. It has been nothing but graft, and maybe he does want a year out, and what better way to do it than say, listen, no one can beat me in this weight division. No one can beat me in the weight division below either. So I'm going to take some time out, and I'm finished with the sport. And while he's away, you know, Petr Yan, all these guys will start queuing up Aljamain Sterling. We're going to run through them all, I'm sure. They'll all fight for the belt, and then one guy will be left standing in 18 months' time, and the $1 million question that every media member will be asking is, do you think he could have beaten Henry Cejudo? And at that point, when Dana picks up the phone, Henry will have a number. Pure and simple.
Dan, would love to get your thoughts on tournament fighting. I'm a huge fan of this. And as Nick just said there's some serious contenders that are lurking just behind Henry Cejudo. So let's say he steps aside, that belt becomes vacant. I personally wouldn't make a title fight straight away or an interim title fight. I'd have two eliminators, starting with Moraes against Yan, then Sterling against Cory Sandhagen. Winners fight each other, and that's how we figure out who the next main deal is in the bantamweight division. What's your thoughts?
I like it, and I think the other thing you've got to bear in mind, we also need an alternate fight. You've also got a Sun South floating around. You've got Pedro Munoz is there. We've also got to think, I know he's a bit further down the rankings, but Cody Garbrandt would be just electrifying. Just personalities alone, like Cejudo would really get under his skin. So I'd like to see him get back in the picture at some point. But I agree with you. I mean, you've got 4 top contenders there that could fight out. They did the same thing with the lightweight title at what? UFC 37 or something. I'm showing out my age a little bit now, but I remember when they did it, and it was brilliant because, like, not only are you watching a fight between 2 great fighters, but you're also thinking, I know what's coming next for the winner of this, and how does that play out? How do they match up? I mean, you could switch any one of those fights around, and they're all interesting matchups, and every single one of them would be an interesting challenge for Cejudo. What's interesting though is that the top 2, Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan, in my opinion, are very, very different fighters in the way that they fight. Petr Yan's a tough test because he constantly moves forward. Aljamain Sterling's a tough test because he's very, very dynamic in his movement patterns. Just those 2 alone, I don't know how they both play out, but even if one of them loses to the other, I'd still like to see them both fight Cejudo because, as we've discussed with other divisions, like, styles make fights, and you can get these little triangles that go on where guys could keep swimming around in circles and beating each other. Cejudo needs to really lock this division down before he steps away, and I think he needs to beat 2 or 3 of these guys before he can really consider himself an all-time great in this division.
Nick, where does Jose Aldo sit in all this? Because let's just remind people watching this, he was due to fight Cejudo coming off the back of the defeat to Marlon Moraes. A lot of people thought that Aldo got the victory in that particular fight. Where does he sit for you? Obviously stepping down in weight. Is he a real contender against the guys that we've just been mentioning there?
I think you've always got to keep Aldo in mind.
Yeah.
Kind of like Dominic Cruz. He's one of the old veterans of the game. He's got so much experience. The other thing that always stood out to me with Aldo is his takedown defense. I remember times when Chad Mendes shot in on Aldo and he didn't even hit the floor, and he was bumping his hips 2 or 3 times and back to his feet. His timing on his knees was also incredible as well, all the way back to his WEC days against Cub Swanson. He walked him onto a knee. I think there's a lot of skills in Aldo's game that could be problematic for Cejudo, and his speed as well. And the fact that, as long as he can get down to the weight class comfortably, he's going to be a big, strong, powerful individual at this weight class. He's just got to work fast. That's the thing with Aldo. We know he fades off, and Cejudo will play to that best he can, so Aldo wouldn't need to take the fight to him.
Nick, coming up over the next month or so, we're going to be quite blessed, I think, in this bantamweight division, aren't we? Where the best are actually going to fight the best. We're not going to have to wait around for top guys to be fighting guys in the 15 and 14 bracket. We're going to be seeing 2, 3, and 4 all going at it. Starting in the not too distant future with Hassan Sal taking on Garbrandt. I know that Garbrandt's a little bit further down. I think he's ranked 9 currently, but he is the former champion. And if he can get his act together, he's a contender as well.
Exactly. There's half a dozen legit guys there that could all fight for this bantamweight belt. And that's why I'm kind of secretly happy that Cejudo's taken this step back, because it allows us to look at the rest of the field. It kind of reminds me, he hasn't dominated the weight division yet, but looking down the list of all those guys, Cejudo for me starts as favourite against all of them, every single one of them. And I just think taking him out of the mix, you kind of go, oh, okay, now how does he beat him? How does that match out? And I think 18 months of seeing these guys fight each other, even in a couple of 5-rounders. I like that tournament idea. It's pick 4 of these guys, put them on the same bill and put 2 of them in the main events, 2 5-rounders at the top, 2 semi-finals. The winners then fight each other for the vacant belt. And guess what? The champion then, next summer, we crown a new bantamweight champion. And your reward is Cejudo's coming back. We've got a magic number. We'll find out who the best bantamweight on the planet is. It makes perfect sense. I think the UFC must be absolutely licking their lips together. And now I kind of think back to Dana's face when Henry announced his retirement in the octagon on Saturday night, Dana didn't really bat an eyelid, and I think maybe inside he was thinking, okay, yeah, that makes sense for me, makes my life a little bit easier. All these guys are desperate to fight one another, and with you out the way, Henry, demanding all kinds, it'll allow me to find out who's the best of the rest, and then maybe we'll have a conversation about bringing you back. Makes sense for everybody.
What's your gut instinct then? Out of everybody that's there at this moment, who will be the last man standing in order to take on Cejudo this time next year?
Right now, I would have to go with Petr Yan. I think right now he looks like the guy. He looks red hot. You know, he's the one that's got a lot of attributes. Whether he's the guy to beat Cejudo, I don't know. But in terms of this lineup, this talent, you know, I'm a huge Aljo fan. I always have been, even though he had, you know, when he had a couple of defeats and everything else, I've always stuck by Aljamain Sterling because there's something about his fighting style that I really like, and he's not been afraid of his defeats. He's embraced them and moved forward and developed as a mixed martial artist. I also think he's got that little bit of flair and arrogance that you need to become a champion. But right now, if I was a better man, and I am, I would go with Petr Yan.
Dan, if we put Moraes and Yan together and we put Sterling and Cory Sandhagen together, who wins that tournament?
I think Petr Yan comes through over and over again. You know, he's the favourite. He's the favourite, absolutely. I mean, Sterling obviously has got the skills and the speed to catch anybody clean and hurt them, and he's got a great grappling coach in his corner that's got lots of UFC experience as well. Championship corner team. The thing that I always question with Aljamain Sterling is at what point in the fight does he start to wonder whether the fight's going to slip away from him? And you kind of see that in some of his fights, he starts to second guess himself. Yeah. Petr Yan, I still don't know what he's thinking at any point. You can't tell. He barely smiles. I mean, he's one of the most stoic fighters on the card. He's like, you know, if you needed someone to play an authentic Spartan warrior, as far as build and vibe, like he is it. Like he is about as laconic as you can get. And I think he's a fascinating antithesis to Henry Cejudo because he just would be a stone wall to all those kind of antics. For some reason, I just keep going back to Garbrandt in my head. I go back to how Garbrandt dealt with Cruz, like how he was calm, how he was, you know, he managed range between the two so well, which was something I thought Cejudo did against Cruz very well, and we very, very rarely see it against Cruz. I've seen two guys now do very well with the problematic footwork of Cruz, and as an analyst, I guess I just want to see those two fight. I mean, I think the footwork of Petr Yan's fascinating, the way he cuts the octagon down, but it's very similar to Cejudo. It's very similar to Dillashaw. I think there's a flair to Cody Garbrandt's footwork, and the power he's got in his hands it makes him exciting every round.
Couldn't agree more. I want Cody Garbrandt to get his act together and get back on it, and it all starts obviously with his big fight against Hassan Sao. It's a massive fight. If he comes through that he's most certainly in, and he might even edge himself into the knockout tournament. So there you go. That's how we're looking at the bantamweights at the moment. First conclusion is that we don't believe that Henry Cejudo's fully retired. He's going to take a little bit of time off, stick an extra note on that paycheck, and we'll see him in 12 to 18 months' time. Meanwhile, the rest of them are going to have a go at each other, and there'll be one man left standing, and we're looking forward to bringing it to you all on BT Sport.